Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Powerlifter to Bodybuilder. So today I'm bringing you through probably the final session that I haven't actually brought you through. So this is my first leg day of the week. It's probably the day of the week which I am probably most nervous about, mainly because I have to do stiff legs and normal squats on the same day. So it's a pretty tough session. Definitely is quite systemically taxing. Here I'm just getting some warm-ups in with my stiff legs. So I have stiff legs in as well as regular deadlifts, and some of you are probably asking like what's the difference between a stiff leg and a regular deadlift, and the main difference really here is how I am performing it in terms of with my hip position. So you'll see here I keep my hips pretty high and I'm trying to minimize as much forward knee travel as possible. So I'm trying to basically limit any of that, so it's going to make sure that I'm prioritizing keeping the tension across my hamstrings and my glutes. As well as that, I am locking in with some straps. So with my regular deadlift I won't use straps, mainly because I still want to keep my grip strength pretty high for when I do return to powerlifting, and I'm still performing my deadlifts like a powerlifter, so I'm not really controlling the eccentric as much as I am here. You can see my eccentric control here, so the lowering phase is a lot more controlled. So that was my top set there. I believe that was 206. So it was a 21 kilo bar, which is, it's a thick bar, so definitely using straps was warranted here for today for sure. With my back off sets then, I dropped the load down to, I believe this was 186 or so. The bar loading is a bit all over the place as well because somebody was using the 20 kilo bumpers. So generally if I'm in a gym like this, I'll try to use bumpers as inside plates just because they're slightly wider in diameter. So it just makes it getting on those other 20 kilo plates a lot easier. So if you're in a commercial gym, using a bumper as the inside plate and then using other kind of plates as outside plates can make bar loading a little bit easier. Otherwise, you will have to do a little bit more work to get the plates on, especially if you don't have a deadlift jack, which most gyms don't really have. So some of you may be wondering, how do you get knee sleeves on? It's a question I get all the time from clients. So this is generally how I get them on especially now because the gym is so damn hot. So I put my deadlift socks, I get on the actual knee sleeves, I roll them up, I roll them down, and then I yank up over my knee. So when it's hot and when you're sweaty, they're especially hard to get on. So that's why using the actual socks here can help. It just provides a little bit of lubrication, you could say. So pretty straightforward process, but it's a question I get surprisingly a lot from clients, which is fair because if you try to put them on, well, they are just, as they would be on your knee at the top, they can be quite difficult to get up. So the rolling up and rolling down method and then pull up and then unwind them is probably the easiest way to get them on. So now I've got some squats. So I'm just bringing you through my squat warm up here. So I will generally take about 3 to 4 warm ups with any lift, right? So this is how I will warm up with my squats. I will do 70. So I didn't do bar here. Usually I would do bar from squatting first, but because I'm already pretty warm from doing my stiff legs, I just go straight into doing 70. So 70 for a couple of reps here. I do anywhere between 8 to 10 reps with 70, just making sure that I'm trying to move that bar explosively. So I'm thinking about the load that's on the bar now as if it was my working weight. So the only thing I really want to be changing between my warm-ups to my top set is the actual load on the bar. So after I did 70, I put 120 on the bar. So I'm still keeping pretty similar warm-ups as I would when I was powerlifting. So going 50 kilo jumps, 70, 120. I think the next one is 160 because I was going up to 180. So I was trying to keep it to that 3 warm-up sets. So you will notice as well, between the 70, 120 and this, my reps actually decrease. So as you get closer and closer to your top weight, you want to start decreasing reps as well. So usually I'll go about 8 to 10 for the first set, then maybe go about 3 to 5 for the second, and then my third or last warm-up set is usually going to be like a single or a double. So this is 160 here, have the belt on now as well. So as I get closer to that top weight, I'll throw on the belt. So this is my first set of 180. So just doing 4 sets here today, just 4 sets. So yeah, you can kind of see why this is a bit more of a mentally demanding session. Doing 3 sets of some pretty heavy stiff legs, and then doing 4 sets of some pretty heavy squats. And like, to be honest, I'm pretty happy with the load that I'm actually using at the moment, mainly because, you know, I'm 82 kilos now, which is insane. I think the last time I was 82 kilos, I definitely could not have pushed out this weight for this many sets, for this many reps. I think for ages, I remember I was stuck at a plateau of like 180 for like 1 set, and as soon as I go for my 5th rep, I get a nosebleed. And maybe some underlying health conditions going on there, but now it's pretty manageable, doing this knee deep into prep, so 18 weeks into prep at the moment. So yeah, this first set of 6. In regards to my progressions on squats at the moment, I'm progressing them a little bit slower. So I've hung around at 180-ish for the last few weeks. So the way I've been kind of working my actual progressions on these is I have 4 sets. So say for example, I did 4 sets of 180 this week. So next week I'm going to do 3 sets at 180, and my final set I'm going to do at 182. So it's a small progression on that last set, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm still trying to manage fatigue as well. Like, the overall amount of systemic stress that this training session is providing me with at the moment, relative to the amount of actual like mechanical or muscular stimulus that I'm getting, is probably not as great as if I was, you know, doing something like a leg press, for example. But the powerlifter in me wants to be stubborn and wants to just continue doing squats until it's literally something I just do not want to do any longer. But to be honest, the way I'm recovering at the moment, the way my training is going, I'm pretty happy to keep in squats twice per week at the moment, doing deadlifting twice per week as well. So this is my 4th set of 6. So the way this moved really, really nicely. Almost moved better than the 2nd and 3rd set. Maybe because I was filming it, who knows. But I didn't actually have any music playing because my earphones died. So there you go, I'm at a handicap already. So yeah, easy enough set of 6 here. And then next week, as I mentioned, I will bring up this final set up to 182. And then once I get that last set of 182 next week, then I'll add in a 2nd set of 182 the following week. So again, it's just these gradual increases in training stress I'm looking for at the moment. I'm not looking forward to set any kind of PBs here, because like realistically, as my body weight goes down, like I'm still hitting relative PBs in a sense, and I'm still keeping a decent amount of actual like mechanical tension on the muscle itself by performing these sets with better control every time. So then we have some line leg curls, so 4 sets here, so training the hamstring in a more shortened position. And one way I like to think about the actual line hamstring curl is to think about it like a preacher curl for your hamstrings, right? Because if you think about, like, your hamstrings are pretty much like the biceps of your lower body, okay? You contract them the same way you contract your biceps, and the way you're performing this exercise here is similar to how you would perform a preacher curl. So with a preacher curl, you are trying to push your triceps down onto the pad. I'm trying to push my quads into this pad here, and then curling up against the actual input pad itself. Everything else is trying to remain as stable as possible, so trying to keep my hips pressed into the pad too, trying to keep my core braced and locked and down. And I got some nice little kind of tot shots here, so getting in some nice booty shots, some hamstring shots. Not quite as lean as I want them to be just yet, but you know, that will come. We do have 7.5 weeks from when I'm recording this voiceover now, so they will start to come in. But I'm starting to see some more lines of them when I'm taking my videos, and you know, I just have to be patient because it's clearly just an area that is going to be a bit slow for me. So yeah, patience is the name of the game. Leg extensions then, so training the quads in their more shortened position here. So generally when we are looking to kind of make a training program, we want to have our exercises to be training the muscle group or the muscles in question through a lengthened and a shortened position, which I've mentioned multiple times in other videos. So this is how you will train your quads in a more shortened position. So with my squats, the most challenging part is going to be when they're in the lengthened position at the bottom of the squat and through the mid-range. And then it's going to be pretty easy at the top, right? Because you can stand up with the weight all day at the top. There's not really going to be any challenge to your quads at the top of the squat. So the leg extension, if you want to develop your quads pretty fully, you should include a leg extension. And leg extensions are the only exercise really that is going to train the rectus femoris, which crosses the hip and the knee joint, unlike the other quad muscles which just cross the knee joint. So you need to have an exercise in there like a leg extension if you want to have fully developed quads. Okay. So then finishing off the majority of my lower body movements with a hip extension. So this is just going to fatigue the hamstrings a little bit more in that lengthened position. So as my hip is flexed, I will have a slight little bit of a knee bend here, and I'm doing these for higher reps. So one of the reasons I'm doing these, like I was meant to do like a fourth set of stiff legs, but like a fourth set of stiff legs, like with doing 4 sets of squats, it's just going to write me off for the entire session, right? It's going to add a huge amount more fatigue than I probably can tolerate at the moment. However, I can definitely tolerate a good set of these, getting to a decent enough kind of proximity to failure. So with these, I'm really just thinking about driving my hips into the pad at that top position. I'm not allowing my lower back to come up and flex a lot, because that's one issue that a lot of people do with these, is they'll overextend through the lower back, and then they just feel like their lower back is getting pumped throughout the entire of the actual movement, whereas you want to keep all the tension in hamstrings and the glutes. Finally then, we are finishing off with some calves. So using this Life Fitness toe press, it's kind of variable, right? Because I don't really feel like the range I get here is great. Like I have that seat pushed up all the way, but still in like that lengthened position where my toes are getting pointed towards me, I'm not getting a huge degree of a stretch. So one thing I'm doing here to kind of help with that is I'm sitting on my hands, and that is going to allow for a little bit more of a knee bend. And that extra little bit of a knee bend is going to get more length into the gastrocnemius, all right? And what I'm thinking about here is I'm thinking about pushing through that platform and thinking about getting my ankles up and forward. And that is going to help me contract my calves a lot more kind of firmly, as well as like I'm not just bouncing the weight, right? You want to aim for a little bit of a pause at the bottom and at the top, because otherwise your Achilles tendon stores a fuck ton of elastic energy, and if you are just bouncing the weight, you're going to be getting mainly Achilles tendon work there done versus work with the actual calves themselves. So if you're looking to grow your calves, you really need to make sure that you're controlling the bottom and top position. And then finishing off the training session with a little bit of vanity, because I'm on prep at the moment, so I need to make sure that I'm flexing my gains at the gym, make everybody else feel a little bit inadequate. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how things are coming at the moment. So as I mentioned, like we're 7.5 weeks out at the moment, and yeah, things are in a good position. I'll have more of an update for you in terms of like how I'm feeling and physique wise at the end of the week when I do my physique update. But for now, yeah, training is going good. Like there are some sessions which I am kind of just dreading going in for. Like this is a session which I'm dreading going in for, but I'm quite chuffed when it's done, and I'm quite chuffed with my efforts during it. Like I'm not letting the fact that I have a little bit less motivation, a little bit less energy kind of distract me from the fact that training is still a fundamental part of the prep process. Like it's so important that you don't slack on your training when you're in a diet phase, because ultimately if you are in a catabolic environment and you are stopping training, you're just going to end up losing muscle mass, and if I end up losing muscle mass, I'm going to look like shit on stage. So that's not what I want at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll chat to you in the next one.